Good? You still got energy for the next two panels? Because this is where things get a little bit interesting. Not like everything was interesting today, but more in terms of where things are going in using AI. And I wanted to introduce Karen Palmer. And Karen, your title is Storyteller from the Future.
Yes.
Can you tell us what that actually means?
Yes, I'm a storyteller from the future, and I create films that watch you back using artificial intelligence and facial recognition. They enable you to experience the future, in particular, the societal implications of AI.
So what's your process in how you make things? Because you work with technologists and different sorts of people than normal.
So I've been working with AI since 2016, and I'm a research-based artist looking at how AI will impact society. And then from finding these issues like bias and other potential implications, I wanted participants to experience that. So I started to world build, and I work with thought leaders from art, tech, science, whether people like Ruha Benjamin, who's an academic at Princeton, wrote about race and technology, to really understand the cutting edge of what will happen in society, and then build these worlds, and then enable participants to experience it.
So you're not a traditional filmmaker. Maybe it'll help if we talk about one of your projects, and so that people can understand how you put your projects together. So can we roll the first VT, please?
Can I just say something about it before you roll it? Is that this project's called Perception.io, and I created it in 2020, and it actually uses a data set that monitors your emotions for calm, anger, and fear. And as you watch the film watches you back, and it branches in real time depending on your emotional response. So your perspective of that is a cop, and it's like a training simulation. And you come into contact with a black and a white character, and if you respond aggressively, the scene will escalate. The narrative will go that way. If you respond calmly, it will de-escalate. So it's making you aware of your own potential bias. So when you see the film and you see it kind of crackle a little bit, at that point it would actually, narrative would change depending on you.
So before we play, then let's expand on that a little bit more. So are you playing it with, it's like an immersive experience, and so how are people interacting with it? What's like, I'm coming to see the piece, walk us through that process a little bit.
So traditionally, my experience would be seen within museums or conferences or gallery spaces, and they're life-size. So you stand in front of it, and the AI that we've created bespoke will watch you back, and it will monitor you and your face, different points on your face. So if you're frowning, will be very different if you're smiling or if you're calm. So it will, in real time, respond by reading you. The technology will read your face, combined with a film experience where you're watching a film. So it becomes totally immersive because it's bespoke to you.
And so you're actually using like face tracking technology to move you through the narrative and that kind of branching narrative.
Even deeper,
right?
It's kind of like you are the driver of the story. So you are the central piece, and it responds to you totally uniquely than anybody else.
We'll talk about it a little further, but can we run that first VT, please?
Nearest officer is 39th Suspect is armed and dangerous.
Sir, there's been a robbery in the neighborhood, and you fit the description. I need your hands up.
Do you want,
Sir?
man?
Sir?
What the f*** do you
Calm
want?
down. Sir, do you have a piece of ID with you? Sir, I need to see your ID.
Fuck
Sir,
do you want,
back
man?
up. Back up.
What do you
and
want?
calm
What do you
down.
want?
Sir, back up. Ma'am, stay out of it. Back up and calm down, sir. Okay? Sir, what are you doing here?
You white because always
Back up. Calm down.
Always-
Can you run through a little bit about what's happening there in terms of like those breaks are happening?
Yeah. So every time you saw like a break, if you watched it within a space, it's not a linear film, because it's not designed to be experienced in that way. When it has that crackle part, then it would actually branch depending on how you responded. Within the film, there's a black character and a white character, and you have kind of a lottery in terms of what character you're going to get, because there could be a criminal or someone with mental health issues. That character I know had mental health issues. So you kind of get clues in the scene as to what character you have, but from being calm, then you get the most optimum response. If you're aggressive, it will escalate, and if you're calm, it will come up with the desired response. Some police saw my work in America and were saying this should be a training tool for police because, so it's an empathy machine. But actually, when you're in a live situation as a police officer, you're using a certain part of your brain. But when you're in a film, which is when you're in a live situation, you're using a part of your brain, which is very different to when you're in training. In training, you're using a different part of your brain. But my experience activate the same ones as you would in real life. So it kind of has that, not just sensory, but also it's training the part of the brain which would actually make a difference in real life.
I mean, I was fortunate enough to have the experience, and I remember thinking at different times, like, okay, I'm going to try and be calm. I could feel my attention and fear or relaxation trying to come in at different points. And then also I practiced different breathing techniques to just see if I can make things change. And it was really fascinating to see how accurate you were in terms of facial recognition, because I was like, there were micro expressions that you guys were picking up.
Yeah. Also to add, the whole of my work is about making people more self-aware. It's kind of the opposite of like Netflix, where you kind of tune in and switch off mentally. With my work, you kind of tune in and you tune into yourself so that you become more aware. So you become aware of what your triggers are in terms of becoming tense, and then you're overriding them by focusing on your breathing, so that my films make you aware of how your emotions affect the narrative of the film, but in the exact same way your emotions affect the narrative of your life. So we're enabling you to kind of have more agency in your own life. That's the ideal.
And you just recently came back from South by Southwest, and you just had a new project there, and you got some good news, right?
Yeah. So I'm really fortunate that I made a project called Consensus Gentium, which is Latin for if everyone believes it, it must be true. And super excited. I won the South by XR Immersive Award, which is probably the biggest award for immersive in the world at the moment, which is really cool. Oh, thank you. Thanks. It's exciting.
So do you want to set up a little bit about the video so we can talk about the project?
It's really important for me to democratize the arts, basically, as amazing it is as showing it in places like this. So this experience was designed to be experienced on a mobile device. Also, I wanted to really create a very authentic and intimate experience, and there's nothing more intimate than that we're connected with than our mobile phones. So it's designed to be on a mobile device. It's set in a near future world of post-pandemics and climate change. So we have limited mobility, and we have to prove our compliance to the state to have more mobility. So that's the objective of the experience. And so the film watches you back. Should we show the trailer?
Yeah, can we show the first VT, please?
That was the second one, but it's cool. So I'll tell you a little bit about the user experience, and I'll show you the one about the concept. So as you can see, or hopefully saw, that it was tracking the person's eyes where they're looking on the screen, and it's responding even to smiles. So it uses the front-facing camera in the phone to interact with the story, and again, make the narrative branch in real time, depending on your eye gaze. There's multiple branching narratives and 3 different endings to make you aware of your own potential compliance or dissidence. And there's no judgment, it's just to make you aware that to see if you're happy with the ending you have, and if you're not, then you can go through the experience again.
The thing I found interesting when I did it is, like you were saying, you were using text messages, you're using iPhone videos, you're using all the things that make it feel like you're interacting with someone on a phone. And coming from a filmmaking background, you're using all the textures of that, but using those things. Can you talk a little bit more about that process a bit?
So, as I said, I've been using AI since 2016. And so and that was a time where you couldn't even Google AI and filmmaking. It was like some weird thing that no one was doing. So all my work is totally bespoke. Nothing is off the shelf. My developers design it for the experience. And so I lost my train of thought. And so the film responds in real time. So I totally lost my...
You were talking about the branching narrative and how you're using iPhones.
So it's totally a bespoke experience, and that's it, right. The vertical storytelling is a type of storytelling on a phone, which is totally new and novel, and I've combined that with the AI, combined with this user experience of how it responds. So it's kind of, I'm the artist, like the symbiosis between all of these elements together. And as far as I'm concerned and aware, I'm the first person to do an experience on a mobile device that responds to you. Because if you think that Netflix, their form of interactivity with Bandersnatch was touch a button, so mine is next level.
Yeah, it was completely invisible. And
as you said, it had the design elements of the iPhone as well to give it that total immersion. Shall we show the other?
Yeah, let's show the other VT.
This will give you the world experience, hopefully.
Please remain where you are. Authorities are on their way to discuss this matter.
Smart equals surveillance.
Put a camera on one! Stop!
Gaze screen top. You have been declared an enemy of the state.
I have no privacy.
This is fucked up. What should I do?
So the part about it is, like, I think I love you talk about how you're using AI to illuminate what could potentially happen with AI. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's kind of like a double sword. Like, I'm using AI to make you aware of societal implications of AI. There's one thing kind of reading a Guardian article about it, but some of these themes are so complex that I really want you to viscerally experience it for yourself, so that you just instinctively know what's happening. And then even more so, make you aware of your kind of role within the future in a way that I think we're living in a time of immense uncertainty, and it's really easy to feel they have no kind of impact or agency in the world. But through my storytelling, you'll see that how you can change the film, you could also change the narrative within the world. And I want to kind of activate that agency in participants in very much the same way that mythology did. It's about impacting us, our journey as rites of passage. So that's my influence, and that's what I feel is the power of storytelling, and that's my responsibility, I feel, as an artist, to use storytelling to not just immerse, but immerse for good, to empower all of us.
Well, I want to open it up for one question from the audience, because we have a little bit of time.
No pressure, one question.
That guy right there, can we have that? Sorry, Mike's going to come to you in one sec.
They're not sure who you pointed at. Oh, what are you?
You want to stick your hand up again, sir, please?
Oh, and just give him the mic.
Okay.
I stole it.
You did, didn't you?
Okay.
Make it quick.
How accurate would you say the software or the technology is at reading people's facial expressions? Because some people are very stoic, some people are quite expressive, and then we don't always conform to typical interpretations of how, you can be smiling when you're happy or smiling when you're angry.
So that's a really good question. So it's going to measure you depending on the perception. So say I had a friend that did it and it got calm, and he said he always looks calm but inside he's raging. So it's really how you're being perceived by the world is how the AI, because it's not like an EEG sensors, I've used those before, it's going to go into your brain. It's really how you're being perceived by the world.
All right, since we're running short on time, I'd love to give it another question out there, but just one last statement from you is like, what are you looking forward to now that you've developed this process with the technology? Is there something that you really want to do with it in the future? Is there anything else you're looking for?
I'm like a proper artist who just happens to use AI because I had this feeling that was the future, like 10, 15 years ago. But what I'm most excited actually is about the power of storytelling and impacting people, and to try and people have actually been, right, to some extent, like impacted and transformed through my experiences. So that's what really motivates me as an artist, not the tech. The shiny tech is cool, but it's about impacting people for good. And what I think is that I just want people to be aware of the power they have to craft the future, because the future is not something that happens to us. It's something that I feel we build together.
Well, thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you, everybody.